Welcome to another episode of the Anime as Spirituality podcast on Substack and YouTube. On this episode, we are talking about the connections between psychoanalysis and spirituality, our implicit, unseen reality. So stick around. I'm the Cozy Sensei. This episode is coming out on my birthday, so happy birthday to me. And I'm looking forward to this new year. I really am. I get so excited about my birthday as like, this is my birthday. But as I age and after everything I've been through with friendships and birthdays, I'm enjoying being able to just be like, okay, the day is here. Yay. And whether or not certain people reach out, it doesn't even matter. What matters is I was born today. And I've been experiencing miracles my entire life, but I wanted to share my most recent miraculous encounter because it kind of felt serendipitous, which miracles should feel like or tend to feel like. So it's been a drought for the past 2 months in my area, and I also just have been traveling and my grass hasn't been growing, so I didn't actually need to mow my lawn. On the flip side of things, like completely unrelated, I write a lot of online fan fiction, and I just, for one story, it just feels like the fandom, while they're reading and they're subscribing, they just aren't engaging with comments. And it's like, why are you not? I know y'all are enjoying this because I'm seeing my subscription numbers slowly tick up. And so I come into some money. I'm like, all right, it's just been like a lot of hurricane rain. My grass has grown to the height of my pup. So I need to get this thing mowed. I hit up my lawnmower and he's like, all right, cool. I can come on Tuesday, no sweat. So he comes, he cuts the grass. He always does a really great job. And y'all, my lawnmower is so attractive. And the problem is he also resembles an ex. So it's like, none of that. But, you know, you can still marvel at the beauty of another human being. But anyway, he's fine and he does a fine job cutting my grass. I just realized that's like a double entendre. That's like an innuendo, a sexual innuendo. Okay. But back to the miraculous. So once he leaves, all of a sudden, my phone, as I'm in meetings throughout the afternoon, is buzzing like every hour for 3 hours straight. Every hour, I'm getting a new comment for that story. And I was like, oh my goodness, what are the odds that the same day that I post a new chapter of the story, and mind you, I posted a chapter the day before, woke up and saw that I lost a subscriber, and I was like, you know what? Because I woke up thinking that when I wake up, I am like so incessant about checking my stats, and I know I shouldn't be. I don't for this podcast, but for my writing, I do. And I was like, let me check to see if I got something new. And I log on and it's like, yeah, you got something new. You expecting an increase, you got a decrease. So I had to spend the rest of the morning kindly and gently coaching myself through and out of my rejection sensitivity. And, you know, just accept that you don't know why somebody would unsubscribe to your work, to your writing. It's not really a true definitive reflection of you, your art, your craft. So just move on with your day. Then here we go. About 4 hours later, lawn is mowed. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. I'm getting comments for the same story that somebody unsubscribed the day before. And these comments are amazing. These comments are well worth the drought that I was having, both in the comment section, and then I looked over at my grass and I was like, oh shoot, we just came from a drought, just had heavy downfall of rain, And here I am getting my grass cut, and you see how the connection I'm making? Like, yeah, you do have to deep it. And to somebody listening to this, they may be like, you're looking too deep into it. But that's the point of a miracle, that it makes you recontextualize and reconsider, how did this happen? And what are the odds of these two disparate things paralleling and intersecting in a way that it just feels like, damn, I should have got my grass cut a long time ago. Maybe if I had it done, a month earlier, who's to say? But also, I do recognize that I posted a chapter, and this has never happened. It's never happened to where the same day I post a chapter, I'm getting comments. Like, that's the dream, that's the hope, that's the desire, but it hadn't happened until I cut my grass. And that type of synchronicity, at least I'm going to call it that, but that type of serendipitous experience feels miraculous because it brought really what I considered to be not even impossible. I just didn't fathom it. And I've had other miracles since releasing this podcast happen in the smallest ways, in some really big and cool ways as well. But I bring this up to remind people that a miracle can come anyway, anyhow. And I am just gobsmacked by the feedback I received for not just that new chapter that I dropped, but for the entire story that I'm telling, which encourages me to continue doing what I'm doing artistically, creatively, spiritually, but also to remember that going outside of the normal course of things brings something really miraculous into the daily. And why do I say that? Because I'm not typically the type of person to post a new chapter in the middle of the work week. I definitely don't post chapters a day apart, but what's really wild? The chapter that I posted on Monday was so short that I feel like it kind of annoyed the subscriber that I lost. So while I'm coaching myself through my RSD, I realized, okay, you know what? The only way that you can move past this is to move forward and drop this chapter that you were just sitting on, which is the next chapter. It's fine. Just maybe get something new, get some new energy out into the world. And I do that, and look what happens. And here's even the better kicker. I wake up the next day on Wednesday, and while I lost one person on Tuesday, I gained 3 more people by Thursday. A miracle. So spiritual gifts, superpowers, quirks, superhuman beings, all of the above, the things that we love the most about anime is the fact that people are not just regular, ordinary people. They have powers and they have gifts and abilities that allow them to do really uncanny things. And a lot of times those uncanny things go sight unseen. But we, as the audience, in the dramatic irony of storytelling, we know what's going on. We can see the colors. We can see the elements. We can see what makes our favorite anime characters special, unique, different, and even in the worlds where they can see their quirks. We're still going to talk about why spirituality and the unseen go hand in hand. We're also going to talk about Demon Slayer this episode. So if I have any Tanjiro and Nezuko fans, what's up? Any Hashira fans, how you doing? And we're of course going to talk about Luffy, and we're going to get into the power of the devil fruit and haki, and just what does it mean to be somebody with a power that can do the unthinkable, the unimaginable, and yet it's possible, at least in anime, at least in animation, and not just possible, it's the everydayness of life and things, of being. Psychoanalytic theory rests on an unseen, elusive foundation. which is the unconscious, supporting Freud's contention that unconscious mental processes dominate our behavior, motivation, and experience far more than conscious processes. Recent research in cognitive science indicates that the role of the unconscious in guiding our behavior is even greater than previously understood. On the level of visual perception alone, scientists estimate that our eyes receive and process 10 million bits of information per second, of which only 16 can be engaged with consciously. This points to a truly unseen reality that is constantly affecting us, yet far surpasses that which can be detected and processed by conscious awareness. The difference in proportion, 10 million to 16, conveys some idea of the supremacy of unconscious mental activity over conscious, and that represents only one of our perceptual systems. The existence of an unseen reality that permeates and enriches our normal course of activities and strivings is also the cornerstone of spirituality. In fact, spirituality involves a search for a deeper meaning or truth beyond what is evident on the surface of life. So we are moving past our normal daily routine. We're moving past the things that allow us or maintain the status quo. We're moving beyond our comfort zone. Spirituality is so boundless, so infinite, that when you consider how much more there is to life when you explore it, you can't even begin to quantify it. That's how extensive it is. And that's why when we're talking about the invisible, we have to understand that it's only invisible to our perception. There are sounds, sights, and colors, and so many things that other sentient beings like animals and plants are perceptive to that the human brain and sensibilities cannot pick up on. And why is that? Does that mean that they don't exist just because we are not finely attuned to perceiving them? No. What it means is that there is more to life than this. There is more to spirituality. There is more to the spirit than what the body can actually perceive and the brain can conceive. Sometimes it takes a miracle. Sometimes it takes that shock to what you thought was possible and real to wake you up to the fact that you don't even know how much you don't know. And that is why there's so much more to discover in life. So if you are wondering, do I have to be religious in order to explore and understand spirituality and therein my spirituality? The long answer is no. So here are examples of how the self's participation beyond its infinite seen space is experienced. How the self shows up and participates in prayer and meditation. The self in creative reverie. The self experiencing telepathy and other psi phenomena sensibilities. The self in mystical union with nature or with another self in passionate lovemaking. That ecstasy of an orgasm. The self experiencing a hallucinogenic high, the self engaged with the other in the unique intimacy of the psychoanalytic relationship, aka therapy. So what we have are multiple ways in which the self experiences manifesting your reality and experiences supernatural abilities, spiritual gifts, and superpowers. Take the classical understanding of the mystic, for example. So think about the sage, the guru, the shaman, the monk, the prayer warrior. The mystic's exhilarating experience of oneness with everything and everyone points to a substrate of interconnectedness that eludes explicit observation. So it's not even about what you can see with your physical eyes and what the optic nerves are receiving with your cones and your rods. Mystics are able to connect on this immaterial, invisible, implicit level and realm of existence and connection with everything and everyone. And that spiritual space, that immeasurable space that surrounds and pervades our measured existence, is filled, okay? It's filled to the brim with infinite potential. And this potential is grounded in what the self can participate in, and in the process shift from its local address in classical space and time, like the temporal existence of space and time as we measure it and know it as human beings. And it can go into what can only be defined by the absence of finite boundaries and measurements. But what's psi got to do with it? Psi, which is the general term for referring to types of communication or information transfer that defies common understanding of how such communication normally takes place, includes telepathy. I talked about this in the first episode of this podcast. Telepathy being communication between minds, clairvoyance being communication from environment to mind, and psychokinesis, the capacity to move objects or influence a physical system without any discernible physical means of doing so. Like, how did you move that? How did you move that cup, Jean? How did you read my mind, Professor Xavier? What are you doing? You know, it's like very X-Men loaded, but what it really is that these phenomena indicate that the self participates in what is, as of yet, an indefinable and unseen aspect of reality that defies our customary assumptions of the separation between our minds and our separation in time and space as human beings in physical bodies. And that's why supernatural experiences like special abilities really speaks to us, because what we're experiencing is the unseen being seen. So, for instance, Demon Slayer, the manga and anime, is an amazing example of this, because the fandom loves what the mangaka has done with the breathing styles that each Demon Slayer core member and Hashira embodies. So we have our protagonist Tanjiro, he does the water breathing style and the fire breathing style, and we're able to see, like, we see these vibrant colors and these earthly elements of wind, fire, earth, and water be illustrated as these young child soldiers are fighting against demons on our TV screens. And we see in our manga chapters them using these elements like an extension of their body. They are breathing through the characteristics of these elements in order to wield their swords against demons. And, you know, this is one of the things that makes Demon Slayer such a beautiful anime to engage with. The artistry is incredible. And the fandom was just like, yes, we love that we're able to see all these colors, the red for the fire, the vibrant blue for the water. Like, we're in this immersive experience of fighting the unseen, but knowing, because anime typically does this, so are the characters. Like, when Tanjiro uses fire breathing, the fire that we see, the demon also sees. But the mangaka, who is the creator, she said, yeah, no, none of that you see is actually seen to the people in this universe. And the fandom lost their shit. And they have accepted this headcanon in opposition to what the creator of the manga and anime has already said is the fact of the matter. She said that this is invisible. And they're saying, no, it is not. And I think that that is the psi phenomena connection that I'm talking about. You want to see this, so you see it. And of course, this was presented to us. So we're looking at this animation, we're looking at these drawings, and we want to believe that what we see that is immersing us and connecting us to the story as the audience is what our characters, whether we like them or not, are also seeing and engaging in. But do we have to see it for it to actually be happening? No, because whether or not we see the stone Hashira using stone while he wields his sword, or the love Hashira using love as she's ribboning her sword to cut down demons, isn't the point. The point is the impact. The point is the connect of sword to demon. But why do we hold on to it? Because we want to believe that only what we see is possible, is realistic. But is that always true? When you have an imagination and you engage with it on a consistent basis, you will know that that's not always the case. For example, remote viewing experiments conducted at the Stanford Research Institute and funded by the CIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Army, the Navy, and NASA demonstrated that subjects were able to draw or describe an undisclosed, randomly chosen target site that was visited and observed by an agent. The accuracy of these remote viewings produced against chance odds of 1,020 or a billion to 1. In other studies, the subject's accurate remote perceptions of the undisclosed site took place before the agent even arrived at the site, and in some cases, even before the site was selected. In these precognitive remote viewing experiments that were conducted by the Princeton Engineering Anomalies Research Lab, said that accurate viewings produced odds against chance of 100 billion to 1. So what this illuminates is that aspects of the intersubjective space shared by patients and therapists and potential spiritual space actually exists, because those people in the experiment didn't even know what they were seeing was real, and yet they saw it. I think that people are expecting to see the supernatural, to see the spiritual gifts of other people, or to believe that psi phenomena can only exist if we are engaging with it or perceiving it the same way that quarks are perceived in My Hero Academia. If you can see it, you have it. You have the gift, right? So the people who are quarkless did not manifest any type of superhuman ability. And so they are relegated to a certain non-class of superhuman existence in this world that ends up being considered lesser. And the people who have quirks that have manifested, we see what that is. Like, with the exception of quirk users like Hagakure, who's invisible, we are able to perceive, and the people in the My Hero universe are able to perceive everyone's quirk on at least one, if not multiple levels of our senses and sensibilities. And to be honest, that is the childishness Carl Jung was saying in the Red Book to leave behind. He says, leave behind the childishness of science, because if you can only accept that something exists or is real because you can tangibly perceive it through one of your 5 senses, you automatically discount that you have a 6th sense, which is the spiritual sense, and you only are open within your heart, mind, body to accept what you can prove. But everything that is real, everything that is possible, everything that exists in this world isn't going to be provable, because the invisible, the immeasurable, the quantum doesn't necessarily exist or desire to be proved, but to be experienced. Now is the time in the episode that I say that if you have any faith system or spiritual belief that you practice, now is the time for you to start to do your own reflection on what are the spiritual gifts in this religious belief, in this spiritual practice that are central to your praxis. What do you embody? I know that in biblical and even in the Quran, there are at least 12 spiritual gifts. The gift of discernment, faith, the gift of giving, healing and helping, hospitality and knowledge, teaching, speaking in tongues, wisdom, the gift of exhortation. Exhortation is being persuasive and encouraging, or the gift of serving. We see a lot of gifts manifested in anime characters and anime adjacent characters, like Avatar: The Last Airbender universe very easily comes to mind. I talked about X-Men earlier, and that's US comics. But we're always seeing characters that have these spiritual gifts, these superpowers that either they were born with or they acquire or they end up inheriting. And when we think about those types of engagements with another person, with ourselves, you know, being able to read minds, being able to teleport, being able to heal people like Katara can do with water bending, or like I can do with Reiki. These are things that to the unwilling mind, you might reject as being possible or even practical. And yet there are so many testimonies and research findings of that very impractical, impossible thing, not only being possible and done, but being pretty common. As somebody who grew up in a deeply spiritual culture where Christian sermons would also be talking about familiar spirits, like the person who turned into a cat to monitor their neighbor, or the mermaid in the water, the Mammy Waters, and, you know, the people who shapeshift and who have children who die and come back again as changeling spirits. Like, as somebody who's inundated in this magical realism, I recognize that when you hear it and you're not a part of it, it doesn't even feel like it makes sense. It feels and sounds like hogwash, but it's not. It's not. It's real. And we enjoy anime that has a metaphysical, a supernatural, a spiritual bent as part of its world building, because when we compare it to these characters' character, we see a relationship, whether it's parallel or it's juxtaposing. We are able to see the ways in which humanity responds to spirituality through spiritual gifts, through character, and the lack thereof, and the diversity within spiritual gifts. And so that's why there are certain archetypes that we see often in special abilities, in spiritual superpowers, that also mirror character traits. Like, flexibility is a superpower. Moving through time is a superpower. And we can parallel that with how time is managed. Not even saying anything about it being good or bad, not qualifying it, but recognizing that people manage time differently. And we see the hyperimposed example of that in people who are fast, runners, speed and lightning, as these supernatural abilities and superpowers. This shows up in your character as the gifts of the spirit. It shows up as love, joy, peace, and patience, kindness, and goodness, and gentleness. It shows up as self-control and wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. It shows up as strength, calmness. It shows as being able to accept and adapt and be flexible is what you will see in every superpower, super ability, power scaling, like the stronger the anime character is and the more attuned they are to their spiritual gift, no matter what it's labeled, the more adaptable they are, the more flexible they are, the smarter they are, the more disciplined they are. Because even the most out of control, ruthless, reckless villain still has a level of discipline to commit to getting stronger, more powerful, to doing evil, to commit to their wickedness, just as there is the training arc and the tournament arc for our main characters. Like, my favorite villain in all of anime is Sukuna. He still has a refinement, a poise to him. So when he is reckless, when he is wild and out of control, you're like, oh, you took your time to develop that by doing whatever you want. And that's just going off of lore, off of canon. So when we're talking about superpowers, when we're talking about spiritual gifts, we're talking about things that also help other people. Because if it's only working for you, yeah, I mean, it's still a spiritual gift, but are you really doing anything worthwhile with it? We're all in charge of making sure that people who are too selfish to think of other people and exploit other people's spiritual gifts, exploit their powers, that they are held to account. And that's what justice is about. That's what All Might used One for All for. I think that's why he was labeled the symbol of peace. And I find it also very complicated because I love All Might as a character, but he is also a stereotypically blonde hair, blue-eyed white man, as much as he is a Japanese man, a Japanese character. But it's like American imperialist propaganda on top of this Japanese animation that works, and I love it and I hate it at the same time because All Might is great. And so to see him actually lose his power and what that represents on a metaphorical level, like on a political level, on a world domination level, like, it's super base to consider. But the aesthetics without that consideration is problematic for me. So I like when Toshinori is in his true form, as much as I wish we saw more of All Might, because what he shows us is that your special ability, your quirk, your spiritual gift is not guaranteed to stay with you. In one way or another, we all have to recognize that we are more than what we can do, and we have to think about who we are. And a lot of his arc was thinking about all the things that he manifested with his gift and training up to his gift. But now it's like, who am I when I no longer have this part of me to strive for and to live into? You're a human being worthy of being protected. He is disabled. And after doing all that he did for the world, he should have been able to just be a human being that's taken care of. You are worthy of every good thing, even when it's not manifested in your life. And even if you are unable to do the wildest dream to fulfill your spiritual gift, you still deserve to be cared for and to be protected. And I think this is why I have such a huge bone to pick with people who skip fillers in anime. What you are only desiring is to see the physical action of the fight sequence and the fighting styles and the conflict and the drama that happens with swords and fists and power scaling. And it's like, those are really great to see in shonen anime. I think that's what makes shonen such an exciting subgenre of animanga. Your ability to see people grow in strength and in confidence and defeat the opposition, especially if you find the battle between good versus evil to be enticing. But Kev on Stage tweeted like earlier this year asking like, should I skip filler episodes in One Piece, because he's on his One Piece journey as well. And people were like, yeah, go ahead, skip this arc and skip Skypiea and skip Dressrosa. And it's like, what are y'all talking about right now? If you are skipping filler episodes that are getting into characters' backstories, getting into the heart and the humanity and the soul of why Luffy and the Straw Hats are even fighting against the world government, against the Navy, against anarchy and dictatorship and oppression, you're missing the whole point of those fight scenes. If you don't know why Luffy is gearing up and why he is relentless and resilient against his opposition, against his enemies, you don't understand why his power scaling even matters. You're missing it. You're missing the humanity within the storytelling. Like, narrative power is so important when it comes to driving propaganda, driving anti-propagandist notions, and bringing in what the whole freaking point of humanity is. And so I don't think that you should be skipping even the quote unquote meaningless or pointless filler arcs either, because are you always fighting in your life? Do you like always going from one thing to another and never getting a break? Like, if it's not one thing, it's another. If it's not raining, it's pouring. Do you not enjoy the happy-go-lucky downtimes, the veg days, the Netflix and chill moments? Do you always need to have a plot in order to enjoy your own story? No. If anything, we be looking around like, God, I am not your strongest soldier. Take this burden away from me. And yet you sit and you watch, number one, a creator's efforts and then deem it as being pointless and fruitless because you don't like the pacing or you don't care about the story's characters or the characters within this arc. And I gotta ask you, where is your humanity? Where is your soul? What's missing? What's not clicking? Like, the way that One Piece is paced, I understand it feels long and drawn out, but what are you being impatient for? If you recognize how slow and how long life takes for you, you mean to tell me that you can't watch the journey of people's years long, decades long suffering and struggle and just sit with it with them? You can't do that for 20 minutes? You only need to see the rubber man stretch to the point and to the brink of death so that you can be like, yeah, Luffy, my captain. Come on. Let's be for real right now. The point of anime, at least to me, anime as experience, is to teach us how we can look at life's obstacles, how we can look at the invisible spiritual warfare in our lives, whether it's cognitively, emotionally, mentally, and we can break it down in ways where we can say, oh, I can overcome this just like Luffy. I can be the protagonist in my hero's journey and not just some supporting character who's static and has no character development at all. Art, animation, storytelling are here to teach us something just as much as they're here to entertain us. Are you not entertained already? So can you not learn while you are entertained? Can you not grow through your entertainment? Can you not be more discerning of why this story is placed in this way? Like, why are you skipping Skypiea? Why are you literally skipping the allegory of a vengeful God who doesn't care about the people who serve and worship him? Why are you skipping out on the opportunity to see years of being gentrified, colonized, decades of apartheid, and fighting for your liberation, fighting for your freedom, seeing people, seeing outsiders give a fuck enough about you, about your people, about your cause, about what you have lost and suffered and struggled through to fight on your behalf? Why are you skipping those arcs? Why are you watching anything that you cannot feed from. You cannot take the seeds and the fruit and plant them into your life to be better. Like, I'm not a hate watcher. So while I understand that that could be a reason why people consume and engage with media, I'm not that type of person. And I understand that everyone isn't trying to look to learn from what they consume, but I still am asking you, why not? Even if you want to turn your brain off, why are you turning your brain off to the point that you're disconnecting from even fictional humanity? Are you not reading books? And I'm not talking about Power or the 48 Laws. No, I'm talking about fiction. I'm talking about storytelling that brings you into a place of empathy. Are you not paying attention to other people in your life? Are you not asking curious questions about how they're doing and meaning it? Are you not checking on the heart, soul, and humanity of yourself and those around you? What are you doing if you're skipping fillers? And now that Gege is running through the streets with his woes in JJK, fans are crying about how much they miss the filler happy-go-lucky storylines in season 1. But I thought that's what you wanted. I thought you only wanted to see I thought you only wanted to see Sukuna killing hoes. I thought you only wanted to see jujutsu sorcery. What are we talking about when we are losing the humanity of the story just to see the fight and the conflict and the victory? Do you even deserve to cheer with your main character when he, she, they overcome the enemy of their lives, of their progress, of their people, of their society? Do you even get to say, yeah, go All Might plus Ultra? I like you, Deku. I'm going to stop the rant for now, but know that this is something that means so much to me. Y'all need to be watching the fillers. And if you consider it to be a waste of your time afterwards, okay. But still ask yourself, what could I have gleaned from that story? Because if it made it to your TV screen, if it made it into your hands as a book, it's gone through an extensive process of development and the point of it all to reach you. And I promise you, not many people are smarter than the creator who made it. And if you feel like you are smarter, I hope that you're smarter because you're deepening the message even more. I rather people overanalyze text and then be told by the creator, yeah, you know, it's not that deep, like what's currently happening in the Dungeon Meshi or Delicious in Dungeon fandom, where the mangaka, she's like, yeah, no, everything that y'all have ascribed to my characters, I was just doing this because I wanted to, and y'all are making these connections that I don't have, and the fandom is headcanoning again in the opposite direction than for the Demon Slayer mangaka, and these are two women, so I wonder what's going on here. But they're like, nah, you know, the main character is autistic because we say he's autistic and he's a sex symbol, like the gnome or the dwarf in the story. I don't know, I haven't watched it yet, but like he's super sexy and this is fan service. And she was like, no, like I was deeply disturbed by this old man when I was a child who was walking around in his underwear, and that inspired me to do that with another character because I realized like he's just living his life. So do you see how I'd rather you do that, be in critical conversation that's thoughtful and that's connecting you to the characters that you see, than to just be like, nah, this shit is a waste of my time because I don't give a fuck about poor people or people living in poverty because of the fact that they are under the boot heel of oppression, which means that in the real world, you don't care either about subjugation, oppression, sexism, ageism, abuse. Okay. Lord knows you can pray that it never happens to you, but I actually wish it upon you so that you can recognize the empathy that you are missing. And yeah, I said it. And that's why talking about this week's tarot card, the second card in the Major Arcana deck, the Magician, is so appropriate because there is so much symbolism in the magician card. So much of the unseen, so much of the implicit that needs to be interpreted. And the reason why is because the magician is all about manifesting and, of course, magic. So no matter the tarot deck that you see or that you own that has the magician card, the central figure is always of a person standing in the middle with one hand pointed to the sky while the other hand points to the ground. It's to be inferred that it's as above, so below, which is a very spiritual, truthfully speaking, Christian spiritual principle. Even though this is a phrase that people have heard all their lives, I don't know if people really deep it as the awareness of heaven and earth being pairs of themselves and the need of the recognition of the spirit just as much as you recognize the flesh and the body. And so the outer world reflects what's happening within, and the outer world is a microcosm of what's happening on a larger macrocosmic level and scale. And that's really just saying, like, earth reflects God. God is the one who manifested the earth. And so when you're looking at what is tangible, what is seen, you have to understand that nothing came to be that wasn't created or that wasn't already in existence in a different realm and temporal space. And so when we are thinking about the magician and what it symbolizes, we can understand that we as human beings, or the magician, is acting as the messenger, as the conduit, as the go-between these two worlds. The world that is unseen, that is spiritual, that is heavenly, that is divine, and the contemporary human world, the earthly world, the material space of being, where time and space are measurable. The magician goes into a lot more of the symbolism. Like in the magician card, you will find all four of the earthly elements: earth, water, fire, and air. And you'll see the infinity sign that's wrapped like a crown over the magician's head, which indicates infinite possibilities of creation and the connection of creation with the will of the mind. There's always a table that has the tarot suits spread out, and those tarot suits are what represents the four elements that connect the magician to the spirit and allows the magician to manifest their magical powers, which is what we talked about with spiritual gifts and special abilities. And spiritual gifts can be multiple things. So when we see the magician card in a tarot pull, when it's upright, it's denoting willpower, desire, it's denoting skill and the ability to concentrate and manifest what you want. So it could be creating opportunities for love or career opportunities that you can harness and you can build upon with drive and determination, or it could be pursuing financial opportunities and making use of the skills that you have within you and around you with your resources. It can also be understanding how to be resourceful, because the whole point of the magician and the magician card is that you are powerful and capable of making anything possible. And so, you know, it makes me think that's what Paul was saying in Philippians 4:13. I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. That's such a magician scripture and way of thinking. And if we go further down in that scripture in Philippians 4:19, Paul says, "My God will supply all of your needs according to their riches and glory in Christ Jesus." And that connects as above, so below, right? The microcosm of our lives, of our humanity, connecting to the macrocosm of the spirit of heaven, of God, and their divinity. So when we see the magician in reverse, what we're really seeing is manipulation, trickery, wasted talent, illusion, deception, and a cunning spirit. So we're seeing really what is the polarizing experience of manifestation and power and magic and creation, which is trickery, deception, which it connects to Satan or the devil, the adversary. And when we are seeing the Magician card in reverse, we are seeing a waste of the resources that we have, whether it's our talents, our skills, it's the illusion of love or tricking people into love. It's missing financial opportunities and being destitute in ways where your skills are not offering financial gain, maybe because you're not using it in that way, or it's just eluding you. You know, when we're talking about manifesting, we have to understand that our willpower, our sense of self-belief, and that the unimaginable, the miraculous is possible, has a deep central role in being able to make any psi phenomena possible, let alone making it our material reality. And that's what superpowers, spiritual gifts, special abilities are all about. The power of manifesting, of knowing that these animanga characters believe that they can do it. They train with the hope of developing these gifts because that is part and parcel of the magician's power and the role of the magician in the hero journey for the fool. Because when the fool meets the magician, the fool is not meeting another fool. The fool is meeting the wise person, the sage, the shaman, the guru. And that's important to understand because you need in life to partner with somebody who is smarter than you, wiser than you, that can help you manifest what you desire. And that can look myriad ways. That person could be your therapist, that person could be your fitness coach, that person could be an educator, a mentor, a family member, a friend. It just needs to be somebody who believes in you because they are so confident in their ability to be powerful, in their spiritual gifts. They're the ones that are showing you, hey, there's more to life than this. And you're not paying attention to the ways in which you can even grow. And that's what the magician wants you to do. That's what all of the different power systems and scaling and abilities in anime is trying to show us, is that like you can find your unique gift, your unique talent, and you can use that to further grow your skills, further strengthen your self-esteem and your belief, and make a change and a difference in your life and in the world. It's so funny how this week's oracle card came to manifestation. So while I was editing some of the audio around the Magician Tarot card, I decided to just pull out an oracle card deck that I absolutely enjoy looking at. So I decided to use my African Goddess Rising Oracle deck by Abiola Abrams. So I closed my eyes and I asked the Holy Spirit to give me a card on the same theme of manifestation, of everything that we're talking about this episode while I'm shuffling. I flip over the deck with my eyes closed. I open my eyes, and lo and behold, the card that was at the bottom of the deck that I just flipped over was the manifestation card. Goddess Mojaji comes up. She's the goddess of the Balobedu people from the Limpopo province in South Africa. And she's the rain queen. I literally manifested the Goddess of Manifestation Oracle card. And I'm like, you see, the spirit is one when your heart is truly aligned to it. And she is a part of the Temple of Conjurers. Her element is water because her nickname is Rain Queen. This goddess's guidance is that showers of blessing are yours. You are a rainmaker, master manifester, shapeshifter, alchemist, and sorceress. Open your hands and your heart. Is this not what I've been talking about all episode long, that the special abilities, the spiritual gifts that we all have are rooted in our ability to manifest them. Her being the rain queen and water being her element connects to the magician card, because the magician is all about manifesting. And what does rain do? Rain waters soil. Rain bears fruit. When people exist in a drought, they suffer from famine because there's nothing that can be manifested from dry, brittle, unfertile soil. And so that's my charge to you this week. Whenever you're listening to this episode, remember that divine blessings flow to you easily when you are able to believe that you can manifest, when you are able to see what makes you so special, so different, so unique, whether it's on a spiritual level, like a meta level of existence, or it's just who you are because of your character and your personality. All these things are not disparate. They're not mutually exclusive. Our favorite anime characters have their special abilities and their spiritual gifts because of their character, because of their personality. So I have to bring it back to Luffy. Luffy, for instance, eating the gum gum devil fruit is just as much a marker of his personality and his character as it is the theme of the show, which is you have to be resilient when you are chasing and pursuing your dreams, when you are going up against things that are trying to stop you from manifesting and receiving what you desire. And him being resilient matches him being elastic. Him being able to see an issue and immediately, quickly adapt and recover from it is the same thing as how malleable and how bouncy rubber is, and we should be when we are engaging in things that matter to us. So that brings us to the end of another episode of the Anime and Spirituality podcast. You can follow me on Substack and subscribe at Soul No Shonen at Substack. It's SOLNO Shonen. I write on there periodically. I'm working on a really long Saturn piece right now with Nico Robin, so it's taking some time to come back to that, but I really want to be able to see who is engaging with my work. You can also follow me on Twitch at the Cozy Sensei and on TikTok at the Soul Gospel, TheSOL Gospel. I hope you enjoyed this episode because I really love talking about everything in this lens. Manifestation can seem like one of those things that only happens to the few and the chosen, but it really is an integral part of our spiritualities, no matter what you believe in, and a part of our spiritual growth and development. So if you feel like you haven't been manifesting things in your life recently that you desire, don't give up. Continue to hope and dream that what you desire to experience is not just possible, but will be your reality, is your reality, like manifested by saying it in present tense, not something in the future to look forward to alone, but also something in the present that is already yours. Because in some other parallel universe of your existence that's happening already that you're just not conscious of, it is. And that's a really beautiful thing, that there's a version of you that exists without your awareness on an invisible plane that has exactly what you desire right now. We consider that in our time and space of this realm of existence to be the future, but who's to say that the future can't already just be now? I hope that you enjoy your week. August is the best month of the year. I hope that you are able to manifest something beautiful and that greatness comes to you on August 20th because the greatest was born on that day. All right, until next time, be good to yourself. Treat your spirit like you would treat your favorite pet, and treat other people with the kindness that you desire. so that you can receive the goodness that you are trying to manifest. And also remember that greater is in you than is around you. All right. This is the Cozy Sensei. It's been good chatting with you. I'm out.